Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I used to believe marriages broke slowly. Cracked corners, worn-out promises, soft arguments that eventually hardened into distance. But the morning I found out my wife was cheating, everything snapped at once. No warning, no gentle shift, just a sharp, violent fracture that split my world in two. It was strange, really. I didn't feel anger, didn't feel heartbreak. I just felt quiet, a cold, heavy silence settling inside me like winter fog. My name is Ethan Parker. I'd been married to Sophie for 6 years, and if you'd asked anyone around us, they would have said we were solid. The couple that smiled in grocery store aisles. The ones who remembered each other's coffee orders. The pair that looked like they had it figured out. And honestly, I thought we did. Sure, she'd been a little distant lately. Late-night showers, the phone glued to her hand, sudden bursts of laughter she tried to hide. But people change. Life gets busy. Routines shift. I told myself not to overthink. But instincts are annoying things. They whisper even when you cover their mouths. It happened on a Tuesday morning. The kind that feels so normal, it almost becomes suspicious in hindsight. Sophie was in the shower, and I was grabbing my jacket from the chair beside the bed when her phone buzzed. One buzz, then another, then a third. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. The screen lit up just enough for a preview to appear. A name I didn't recognize. A message that didn't fully show, just the first 3 words. Last night was... My heart didn't spike. My palms didn't sweat. The world didn't tilt. Instead, I felt something unclench inside me, like a locked door drifting open. I walked out of the room without a sound. For the rest of the day, I moved through life like someone watching himself from outside his own body. She kissed me goodbye before leaving for work, and I remember thinking how strange it felt. Someone touching you like nothing is wrong, while the truth is bleeding through the seams. I didn't confront her. My silence wasn't fear. It was strategy. Over the next week, I paid attention. Not obsessively, not with paranoia, just calmly, like gathering puzzle pieces. Sophie laughing at her phone at midnight. A sudden new perfume. Drives that were longer than expected. Photos taken at angles that hid more than they showed. And then the final piece. A deleted message thread she forgot to fully erase from the recycled folder. People don't realize deleted doesn't always mean gone. When I opened it, there were no dramatic pictures, no explicit messages, nothing over the top. Just enough to confirm what my instincts already knew. Words like miss you, same place, and she won't find out. That last one actually made me laugh. A short, cracked sound I didn't recognize as my own. I didn't confront her then either. Instead, I saved everything. Screenshots, timestamps, the entire thread restored piece by piece. I organized it chronologically, not out of spite, but clarity. I wanted to see the shape of betrayal, its beginning, its middle, its escalation. I wanted to understand a timeline of when my wife decided someone else's attention felt better than my loyalty. But as I went through the messages, I noticed something else. The man she was cheating with wasn't careful. He mentioned things. A schedule, a second phone, a wife. He had a wife. Her name was mentioned only once, like an afterthought, but it was enough. Emma's picking up the kids today. That was all I needed. People assume rage is loud. Mine wasn't. Mine was methodical, cold, focused. The kind of quiet that happens right before a storm snaps the power lines. I didn't text Sophie. I didn't call her. I didn't ask her to explain herself. I tracked down the man's wife, Emma, through a few breadcrumbs he accidentally left. A tag photo, an old Facebook check-in, a workplace mention, the kind of slips cheaters make because they think they're smarter than everyone else. When I found her profile picture, a woman smiling with 2 kids beside her, I felt something heavy twist in my chest. She didn't deserve this. Maybe I didn't either, but we were both living inside someone else's lie. I drafted the message slowly, choosing each word with the precision of someone defusing a bomb. Not dramatic, not accusatory, just the truth. Hi, Emma. I think we need to talk about your husband. I stared at the screen for a long time. The house was silent. Sophie was downstairs making dinner, humming lightly to herself. The scent of garlic drifted up the hallway, warm and ordinary, clashing violently with the cold truth burning in my hands. My thumb hovered over the send button. One tap, and everything would change. One tap, and 2 marriages would shatter. One tap, and the truth would finally stop hiding. I exhaled slowly, then pressed send. Emma replied faster than I expected. Less than 10 minutes after I sent the message, my screen lit up with a simple line. What happened? No panic, no denial, just a quiet dread that somehow felt heavier than anything Sophie had done. I typed slowly, attaching the screenshots, making sure everything was laid out clearly. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was giving her the truth her husband had stolen from her. When she finally responded, her message was shaky and fragmented, like the words were trying to outrun her pain. Thank you for telling me. I had suspicions. I didn't want to believe them. Then another line. I'm sorry you're going through this too. That was it. No rage. No theatrics. Just 2 strangers standing on the same sinking ship. An hour later, while Sophie showered, a new message came through from Emma. Can we talk on the phone? I need to hear your voice to know this is real. I stepped outside, sat on the porch, and called her. Her voice was steady at first, polite even, but I could hear the echo of something cracking beneath the surface. She asked questions, reasonable ones, and I answered them all. She didn't deserve half-truths, not today. When the call ended, the quiet around me felt sharper, colder. Sophie stepped out onto the porch a moment later, wiping her hair with a towel, smiling faintly like nothing in the world was wrong. That smile was almost impressive, like watching someone perform an act you couldn't unsee. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I said calmly. Just needed some air. I didn't confront her that night, or the next morning, or the day after. My silence wasn't avoidance anymore. It was preparation. Emma and I stayed in touch, exchanging information, piecing together a timeline both our spouses thought they'd hidden perfectly. It was strange how betrayal connects people. We spoke like partners unraveling a mystery no one else wanted to look at. It was Emma who proposed a final move. If we confront them separately, they'll lie. They'll blame us. They'll twist it. But if we confront them together, there's no escape. I didn't want drama, but I wanted the truth exposed cleanly without manipulation. So I agreed. We planned it for a Saturday afternoon. Sophie thought we were having a quiet day at home. She made pancakes, laughed at a movie, kissed my cheek. Every gesture felt like watching a stranger impersonate my wife. By noon, my phone buzzed. We're outside. I didn't warn Sophie. I just opened the door. There stood Emma with her husband, Michael, the man my wife had been sneaking around with. He looked shocked, like he'd been caught in a nightmare he didn't remember signing up for. Sophie froze behind me when she saw them. What's going on? She whispered. I stepped aside. Why don't you ask him? The silence that followed was suffocating. Michael stuttered first, tripping over half-formed excuses. Sophie's eyes flicked between all of us, panic rising, her breath quickening as the truth finally backed her into a corner. Emma handed her the printed screenshots I'd given her. You recognize these? Emma asked softly. Sophie didn't answer. Her hands shook as she flipped through the pages, her face draining color. Ethan, I can explain. No, I cut in quietly. You really can't. Her eyes filled before the tears fell, but I didn't feel satisfaction, just an empty finality settling in. Some endings aren't fireworks. They're quiet, cold, inevitable. Michael tried reaching for Emma, but she stepped back. Don't touch me, she whispered. I could hear the tremor in her voice, the kind that comes from holding yourself together too tightly. Sophie tried to take my hand. I pulled away. This marriage is over, I said, each word steady, each syllable carved from the silence I'd carried all week. I'm filing for divorce. She broke then, not dramatically, but with a soft, collapsing sound, like something inside her gave way. Please, she choked. We can fix this. There's nothing left to fix. Emma nodded once at me, a silent acknowledgement that we had done what needed to be done. She turned toward her car without another word. Michael followed, pleading quietly. The door shut behind them, leaving Sophie and me in the heavy stillness of a life that had already ended. She sank into a chair, sobbing, but my heart didn't move, not even an inch. The truth had already replaced the love. I walked upstairs, pulled out the divorce papers I prepared, and placed them on the dining table. When I returned, Sophie stood there trembling. "Is this really it?" she whispered. "It was over the moment you made someone else part of our marriage." I walked out of the house, closing the door behind me. No shouting, no revenge, just a clean, final silence. The kind that tells you finally stepped back into your own life. And for the first time in weeks, I could breathe. If you want another script with a new title, just drop it. I'm ready.